YouTube, what is going on? It is your boy Huey, also known as Devious, and we are back today with some more fire ass content for you guys. So, I noticed that y'all seem to like the Warhammer 40k reaction more than anything, so I decided to give y'all a little bit more of it. So, we're back with Major Kill, and we're gonna watch some more Warhammer shit. I love watching this. I've watched a few of his a few of his videos off of air because I just love Warhammer now recently. It's just been my thing. So we're gonna watch some more of this. Let me make my camera a little bit smaller so I'm not all up in y'all faces, and let's get right back into this shit.
G'day guys and gal. We spend a lot of time thinking about death, that ever-approaching unavoidable event that everyone one day will have to face. But we spend a hell of a lot more time thinking about Warhammer, where death is common but not something that everyone has to experience. A while ago, we covered how each of the factions can go about achieving immortality, but that's actually really hard to do. So I thought we would peel it back and just check out the average lifespan of each race's general populace. Before we get started, you guys have been going nuts on the Magical Painting competition, which is great. Submissions have been a joy to get through, and even I myself have given it a crack. Checkmate people who think I'm a fake Warhammer nerd so I can just take money from other Warhammer nerds. Yes, there's actually a lot of people that think that's what I'm doing, and I'm still.
That's a dope ass thing right there. The thing he painted, I think, or he made himself. That's pretty tough. I ain't gonna cap.
Times, refund policies, and yada yada yada. I got really sick of having to explain to people that no, they can't get another Major Kill Mini for free because they wrote down the wrong fucking address. Check your addresses, people. Winner of the competition gets a ton of money, so if you haven't already checked out the Major Kill Mini range, it's a purchase you won't regret. Today we'll go over each of the race's lifespans. We will explain why each race is able to live to the age that they do, and we'll look at ways that average citizens can extend said lifespans without the use of special one-off artifacts. So yeah, sorry Commander Farsight, your hectic vampire immortality sword isn't getting a feature today.
Warhammer 40k art is so dope. I just love looking at it. Like, I wouldn't want to live in that world, don't get me wrong, that's just fucking crazy. But the artwork is dope.
The humans of 40k heavily resemble the humans of our current real life. However, due to the Imperium's high spending on war and low spending on free healthcare, the average lifespan of an Imperial citizen can be as low as 40, depending on what world they're on. The slums of a hive world, for example, are riddled with disease, crime, and lack of food, whilst the nobility of a civilized world can live for hundreds of years due to expensive rejuvenation treatments. The reju treatments can keep a human in their prime for hundreds of years. This allows for important characters like Gregor Eisenhorn to be able to bicycle kick heretics in the balls well past the age of 150. Reju treatments are expensive, hence only the top 1% of people have access to them. There used to be a Xeno race that if you ground up their flesh and snorted it, it would make you young and healthy again with no side effect. Yeah, needless to say, that Xeno race went extinct pretty fucking quickly.
I was about to say, would you really make that race extinct though? I mean, you would think you would want to farm the shit out of them. I mean, and that's fucked up, by the way. You shouldn't want to farm no species, whether they're alien, human, or whatever. But you would think you'd want to farm them and keep them alive instead of kill them. Because if they make you younger, I wouldn't just fillet them down to where they no longer extinct or exist. I would, like I said, this is fucked up. But it's Warhammer, so the whole thing is fucked up. What I would do is I would farm them, have them keep going. Yeah, but then I guess you could say the counterpoint to that would be they commit suicide. I guess that's probably what they started doing when they probably tried to farm them. So then they probably just knocked out the whole thing. So
humans aligned with the Mechanicus can extend their lives by thousands of years using machinery. The length of their life depends on the quality of the augments they have. For example, Belsarius Call is about 10,000 years old, and he's still getting shit done, even if he does have to occasionally wipe most of his memories to prevent his brain from overloading. But yeah, for mankind, the average age of a human is about 40 years on a shitty hive world, 60 to 80 on civilized worlds, 80 to 400 for rich important people, and 400 plus for members of the Mechanicus. Space Marines are said to be functionally immortal. However, the effects of aging will begin to slow them down around the 1,000 year mark. Certain psychers have figured out how to use the warp to regenerate their bodies and extend their life.
I'm gonna get real with you. I don't think I want to live for 1,000 plus in a galaxy like this. Think about it. You could be in 1,000 plus years of war, 1,000 plus years of almost dying, 1,000 plus years of almost being shot, vaporized, being blown to ash. Like 1,000+ years of that, man. I'd rather just die, man. Send me to the warp. Send me to the Imitating where my soul can just disperse. I would not want to live there. This. I don't know anybody who. I guess for military reasons, it would be best for you to survive because then you have the experience of 1,000+ years if you're in the authorities or a important person. But man, not me. I would listen at war. I would be the first. I'd probably be the first one dead because I don't. No, I wouldn't be the first one dead. I'd probably be the 50th dead. You know what I mean? 50th around there. Because I don't know. I'm lucky, but I ain't that lucky to survive all this shit. Like to survive all this. Nah.
lives without the need for treatments or augmentations. The most notable example of this being the Emperor, who was like 42,000 years old. He's also a perpetual, which definitely helps, but the point still stands. Next up is the Elder, because I would let an Elder mama stomp on my balls. The exact lifespan of an Elder is hard to determine, because it depends less on biological processes and more on their soul. Eldrad is over 10,000 years old, which is considered very old for an Elder. Like other Elder are like, what the fuck, old man? And to be fair, Eldrad's bones are crystallizing, but he's doing pretty well. Other Elder have been known to naturally pass away around the 2,000 to 3,000 year mark. I'm pretty sure Elder lifespans follow the same rules as Warhammer Fantasy Elf lifespans, in that they live until they have achieved their soul's purpose, then they pass away naturally. This is why Malekith never got close to having a natural death, despite being the oldest elf alive. His sole purpose was to overtake Ulthuan, which like never fucking happened. Because Eldrad's purpose is to save the Elder, and that definitely hasn't happened yet, his soul still burns bright and refuses to pass on. So I would say that
Hold on. Imagine having to stay alive because your main purpose in this universe is to save your species. That's one hell of a life, man. Like, and knowing that he'll probably never be able to do it. I mean, he said in the fantasy version of Warhammer, the end times. I'm pretty sure the person I was supposed to save the elves never got to do it because, of course, he died before he could. So just imagine that. Imagine having to live your whole life trying to save your species and knowing you'll probably never be able to do it. That's cold. Because the Eldar probably aren't going to be saved. Let's be real. They're probably screwed. So, yeah. It's a cold world, man. Cold galaxy.
the Elder who die around the 1,000 to 3,000 year mark just don't have the extreme willpower and desire to live on past that point. For Dark Elder, it's a bit different. They hate dying because for them, death is a one-way ticket to Slaaneshi's spiky puss. Hence they constantly seek to replenish their souls and body through torturing people. However, the older a Dark Elder gets, the more suffering they have to induce in order to stay youthful. This is why there isn't many old Dark Elder. Very few Dark Elder who grow to be thousands of years old have the wealth and influence to be able to inflict enough suffering to stay alive. Vect is the only example of a 10,000-year-old Dark Elder that I know of because he is powerful enough to be able to whip that many bitches. The Exodites likely follow the same lifespan rules as the Craftworlders, whereas the Harlequins... yeah, who the fuck knows about the Harlequins? Not me, that's for sure. How about the Orcs? Do these funky war-loving shrooms shrivel up when they get too old, or does their girth get them going for a long time? Well, unsurprisingly, there is few examples of elderly Orcs because they love war more than I love cleaning out my asshole with a bidet. But we do have some evidence that suggests that an Orc, as long as they're getting in a good scrap here and there, are immortal. The Orcs were created purely to wage war. Hence, there was no need for the old ones to worry about giving them a set lifespan. When an orc fights, their body releases a ton of insane hormones and chemicals that greatly enriches their bodies, causing them to recover from wounds and grow larger.
So, he's probably going to explain this. So, if an orc stops fighting, they say, even though this would never happen, let's say an orc stops fighting, they would just die. Like, they have to keep fighting in order to stay alive. So it's pretty much like the Dark Eldar, except instead of it being torture, it's warfare. If they stop fighting, they die. If the Dark Eldar stop torturing, they die. That is crazy. Gruesome and brutal and dark, but still crazy because it means that they cannot physically die. That means something has to kill them for them to die. That's insane.
Only real cases of an orc dying from old age is when they are locked in a cell and left to rot. Without fighting, their bodies break down. If you instead had an orc in a cell and let them fight in an arena every day, they would be extremely healthy until they eventually got crumbed. The prevailing theory as to why the orcs devolved into the orcs is that without the Necrons around, all the good fights were gone, hence the Kroork shrunk in size and intelligence. Also, the Elder regularly performed remote culls of the orcs, which could have further reduced their power. The reason why you don't see elderly orcs much isn't just because they fight all the time. It's also because war bosses are constantly the target of assassination by the other factions and are constantly challenged to duels by their own warriors. Ghazghkull appears to be the oldest orc in the setting, around 200 plus years old, and that's mostly because he has a shitload of plot armor keeping him around. Like, I'm pretty sure the dude has been decapitated and was able to walk it off. Now onto the Tau. The Tau have the shortest natural lifespans of all the races in the galaxy. Excluding the Ethereals, who appear to be immortal, a Tau generally lives for around 40 to 60 years. It's possible for them to live up to 80 to 90, but it's rare. Keep in mind, Tau citizens are afforded excellent medical care and nutrition, so they just genuinely don't live very long. This has to do a lot with the fact that the Tau avoid bioscience and instead rely on shit like AI and sci-fi laser beams, so they haven't developed rejuvenation treatments.
So in a way, the Tau are the most human compared to even the humans. From that standpoint, the Tau themselves are more human than humans, because they have all the shit that they could use to try to extend their lives, but they just don't, because they, like he said, they use robots and shit like that, and other species outside their own, which is what makes the Tau unique. That's crazy that there's a species that could theoretically be deemed more human than humans themselves in terms of lifespan, because they only live 40 to 80. Like they said, on high worlds, people only usually live 40 years old, and on a civilian world, they live 80 years old, and whatever after that is, usually you have to be a special person to get. So that kind of tells you the differences between the races. That's crazy, or species.
Probably because the Ethereals want to be the only long-lasting bovine vag heads around. Those selfish pricks. In saying that, there are members of the Farsight Enclave who have developed a drug that can greatly extend a Tau's lifespan. As there is no Ethereals in the Enclaves, this makes a lot of sense. To get around this lifespan problem, the Tau regularly freeze their important war heroes and commanders, only unfreezing them during times of war and crisis, which is more or less how Shadowsun is still alive in the setting. What about the Necrons? Well, as we know, the old Necron tier only lived for a few decades due to their hectic skin cancer that never went away despite escaping from their shitty skin cancer world.
I just want to stop this and say, he said only for a few decades, like as if a decade is not a long time. A decade, bro. A decade.
Always use SPF 50 plus, kids. But what about the living metal bodies of the Necrons? Well, it comes to absolutely no one's surprise that the Necrons are beyond immortal. Their forms can take damage over time, but are easily repaired. Upon death, a Necron body will teleport to the nearest allied tomb world to get fixed, good as new. If a Necron is left in a humid cave for 1,000 years, then yeah, he'll get a bit rusty, and he won't be super happy about his situation in life. But instantly upon returning home, he will be as good as new. How about the Tyranids? After chowing down a planet, there does tend to be a bit of downtime between their next target. Do they raise their children and teach them right from wrong? Well, you know, there's nothing in the lore that says they don't, so that's now canon. In seriousness, all Tyranid forms are immortal. Not because they're supposed to live very long, in fact the average lifespan of a Tyranid is a couple days, as either they're blown to pieces by a steadfast gunline of guardsmen, or upon victory, they just get eaten by other Tyranids for their biomass. Most of the time, a Tyranid hive fleet will store a bunch of biomass and only have a small garrison of Nids defending it while it travels through space. Then upon reaching a target world, we'll analyze what army composition it will need to develop to win, and then it will use its biomatter reserves to generate said army. Rinse and repeat. So how do I know they're immortal if they're constantly getting recycled? Easy. Just look at Tyranids that have been cut off from the hive mind or left behind. Old One Eye has been terrorizing Ultramar for hundreds of years, and Fabius Bile used isolated Tyranids, that can't reproduce, as a defense mechanism for one of his bases. Further evidence of this lies within the Genestealer Patriarchs. Although their Genestealer cult bitches do age and die like normal humans, mostly to blend in, the Patriarch watches over and grows the cult for generations, sometimes hundreds of years, without any sign of aging or wearing down. The Tyranid form is so well engineered that a genetic flaw, like becoming weak with age, would have been long removed from them. Unlike Orcs or Elder, the Tyranids don't gain experience and strength with age. They are born at peak fighting capacity and remain at peak fighting capacity till they die. Now,
These motherfuckers are pretty much always in their prime. That's pretty much what he said. They are exclusively always in their fucking prime. Like, imagine if LeBron James was always Miami Heat LeBron, pretty much. Or if he came out the womb as LeBron James Miami Heat. That would be fucking crazy. That's pretty much what they are. They're born in their prime and they die in their prime, regardless of circumstance. That is peak biological evolution right there, to where when you're born, you're ready to go. You ain't gotta do nothing, you're ready to go. Even my dog, Lex, as a puppy, had to be, taught how to do something, had to be taught how to do certain things. But these motherfuckers right here, no, they don't need none of that. They don't need no talking to. Get them on the battlefield, they ready to go. It's when they come, it's wartime pretty much.
For some random Xeno lifespans, because gotta reach that succulent 10 minutes of watch time. The Kroot mature early, reaching adulthood at the same time that most humans figure out how to jerk their gherkin. They can then go on to live into their 80s and beyond, much like a normal human can. The Catan are ageless. As they are energy gods shoved into necrodermis bodies, the least of their concerns is natural biological processes. Chaos demons are in the same boat, as they are beings of pure energy. Chaos cultists and marines, however, are a different story. As a rule of thumb, the more warpy you are, the longer you live. Chaos cultists can find their lives greatly extended at the cost of getting mutated as fuck. The forces of Nurgle are especially known for their longevity. If you don't mind being a smelly-ass zombie. Chaos Space Marines don't seem to age at all. There are numerous heretical Astartes that were alive during the Horus Heresy that don't seem to have aged a day. Abaddon, for example, is still in his prime, with seemingly very few chaotic mutations afflicting him. It's stated that the only reason he was able to beat Sigismund in their final duel is because Siggy was old and had slowed down, whilst Abaddon was fresh and still in his prime, despite them roughly being the same age. And finally, Dreadnoughts. The life support systems in Dreadies are so advanced that they are functionally immortal. Bjorn the Fell-Handed is over 10,000 years old, and whilst he does take a little while to wake up from his hibernation, he's still the absolute demon on the battlefield that he was 1,000 years prior. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be.
Listen, it's a great video about Major Kill. Yo, it's crazy. I mean, even if you gave me the option to want to live this long, I would not want to live this long. Because think about it like this. You're seeing everybody that you know die before you. Yeah, you'll make new people, you make new friends, but they'll die one day too. If you think about it, depending on, in this universe, war always happens. So you really will see the people that you care for die, and then you'll get new people, then they'll die. It's crazy. But I guess that is what comes with immortality. That outcome of seeing people you care for die. Shit. But it has been your boy Huey, also known as Devious. Check out my Twitter, my YouTube channel. All that stuff is in the description. And I will see you guys later. Peace.